You're listening to Overwatch Contenders Daily, your path to daily news, scores, and insights into the Overwatch League stars of tomorrow. Here's your host, LemonKiwi.
Welcome back, Overwatch fans. It's me, LemonKiwi, and this is the Overwatch Contenders Daily Show. I've got a great guest here today, team captain of bye-week Dell, aka Ben. He's going to talk to us about the Game 5 compositions, roster changes, all the fun stuff going on with the team. You want to get to know them better, and so do I. But first, let's get into some news. Unfortunately, Bazooka Puppies did disband after not making European playoffs, so we hope we'll get to see that roster under a different name, maybe in Open Division or whatever other endeavors that they have. Second roster change, Apply has been picked up by Mayhem Academy as a flex player. Third roster move is Joy Boy has joined Masterminds as a new main tank for the Australian Contenders team. But now, let's get into our interview with Ben, aka Dell, from Team Bye-Week. Hey guys, I'm here with Ben, aka Dell, the captain of Bye-Week, and man, did they have a good match yesterday. But first, tell me how you're doing. Like, we're recording this right after the match is going to be posted tomorrow or today, but how are you feeling after that match?
To be honest, I'm really happy. I'm really proud of my team because Bye-Week has, in a name, you know, is of course acknowledging that we're not going to probably have the best odds at winning, but also we proved a lot of people wrong, and we overcame a lot of obstacles that we faced to really show up on that last Contenders Day. And hopefully, you know, that's just the first match of non-playoffs that we'll be seeing soon. Because I really want to get Bye-Week right back into Contenders.
Yeah, it's hashtag win week. Well, at least map win, not series win. But little do people know, you guys fought very hard to actually get into Contenders, and you guys placed top 6 in Open Division to qualify for Trials, and then under the name One of Us, you guys placed second, and outbeating teams like Kungarna and Renegades and other really great teams that, you know, you would think got into Contenders. But could you tell me about your team's journey and how hard you fought to get to Contenders?
Yeah, no, that's really an interesting story because unlike many teams that have been in Contenders or were in that trial spot, most of those teams had been teams for multiple months. I actually was contacted by a former manager that gave us the One of Us spot, and I had about 5-ish days, like a little bit under 5 days to make a roster because basically what had happened is I'd been on the LFT grind for a while, and I was working with some friends and working with potential teams, and I didn't really find a project I liked, so I decided to basically make my own in about 5 days, and we came to the roster of myself for Lucio. We had Sombrada for flex support, we had Shirshoy on main tank, we had Waifu on off tank, we had Carbon on hit scan, and we had Aether on like flex DPS / projectile. And that was quite a story, I think, because like you said, we overcame Kungarna and we overcame Renegades, and those teams had been stewing for multiple months, working behind the scenes, screaming those Contenders teams. And basically, I think what got us to the finals of Open and the finals of Trials was really the fact that we were always put in an underdog position where we needed to show up, and when we needed to show up, we did that. And, you know, one of the big things that I think not a lot of people will really not acknowledge too much is that we were the first team to beat Fractal. And Fractal at the time was the scariest team in like the tier 2 scene.
Yeah, I mean, you overcame a lot of good teams, and no one actually knows. I don't think a lot of people know how hard you guys fought to get all the way to Contenders. And yes, you might be on the bottom side of Contenders, but also a very talented team. But talk about the core roster that you guys went through. You know, you have Waifu, yourself, and who's the third guy? Shirshoy, who's like pretty much the core left over from Open Division. So you guys went through a lot of roster changes. Could you tell me about like what gap are you guys trying to fill, and what are you looking for, and what's going on with that?
So there was a lot of lessons learned from myself. I mean, I was the team captain, but our environment was never very like discipline oriented. So the basic or like director oriented. So it wasn't like myself was the only one calling the shots. It was very much a team discussion and stuff. And basically what happened was once we got to Trials, we had known that we were wanting to make some swaps because we just felt that not everyone was as experienced and meshed personality-wise with the team as well as we could. And so we wanted to make some initial changes on there. And basically what had happened with all these roster changes after that, after this first jump to trials and as we moved into contenders, was the team hit a point of where we didn't know what to do. And this is where I learned a lot as a team captain, because making these decisions is incredibly difficult. And honestly, all I wanted to do was make the team happy and make the best environment we could. And so, we had players, some great players come into us like Dogman or Hypnot or even Sugar-Free, or some of the other guys like Carbon was always involved with the team, just not on a main role spot, because unlike most of these teams that you see with the academy rosters or LNL, for example, none of us are signed, or none of us are fully committed to Overwatch in the sense of most of us have full-time jobs or full-time attending university. And, it's one of those things, like the reason why we saw the loss of Carbon was strictly because his school makes him so that he can't play those contenders matches. But as far as like all the different roster changes went, I mean, the first couple were basically the team thought we had a hole that we wanted to patch, and then that hole turned out to be something else, and basically we ended up making a amalgamation of a roster, and we ended up ending with Minish and I believe Lifa. Lifa was the final two pickups that we did, and they stuck around long enough for us to figure out how to win some games.
Yeah, lots of I apologize, my voice is dying, but lots of roster changes, and that must be stressful to kind of do that mid contenders and put these puzzle pieces together. But speaking of puzzle pieces and what, people know your team as is this quad tank or these interesting compositions from like Doomfists from Minish coming out to quad tanks on maps that don't really fit it. So do you guys just play the heroes that you're like your best heroes and make it work, and that's how quad tank came out? Or are you guys just making quad tank fit to every map?
So the quad tank started because we have Shirshoy, who's an incredibly talented Reinhardt, and he's incredibly intelligent on how he likes to engage and how he likes to play the game at a tempo control level. And so when it came to us to pick a composition, we started in trials with basically playing around the heroes, because Moira was just released. There was a nerf on someone, I believe, or there was a buff on someone, where basically quad tank was just a really optimal composition, and that's how it came to be. But basically, people don't actually know that we actually hadn't played quad tank in basically the first like 4 weeks of contenders. Like we might have played it in a match or whatever, but we were really trying to diversify because we weren't confident in our ability to like just stay that composition. And basically what happened, I think, in the end was that we decided to stop trying to play some of these other games or these other compositions and other styles or other tempos or whatever, and we selected back to what we wanted to. And the hero choices came to be basically, what are people comfortable with? Yes. And then also, what can we like maintain like some semblance of a flavor is what a lot of people call it, but basically like a methodology on how we want to play. And honestly, I think that's one of the biggest lessons I learned, is that most important team, I think, for a team that wants to come up in the scene, is that you just have to find a style or some kind of mantra to play with, and you just gotta roll with it.
Yeah, and you guys are making something that's not really meta kind of working. Well, at least working in some cases and most of the time not in throughout the contenders, but you guys you pulled a map 5 against NRG, so to actually get into the series, because I think this is where the juicy bit is, you guys take Ilios 2-1, and starting off, I think surprised everybody, probably including yourselves, on that map wins. So would you guys say you're particularly strong on control maps? Because it seemed to me so, because we've seen you bring really close map 1s, even against Fusion University like in last week.
So when you talk about our team strength, like going back to like those kind of fight controls, so I think one of the best things we're good at is understanding how a fight is and where to get our win conditions out. And a lot of teams that have, language barriers, or maybe they just don't have synergy, or maybe they don't trust each other. Control is one of those maps where just being able to really work with each other and really work to enable each other, whether it be, pocketing Lifa on McCree or enabling some Doomfist or what have you. Like, the reason why Control is going to be our best map for the most part is just because there's a lot less preparation in the form of positioning, in the form of how you want to retake maps, and it's more just about the brawl. And that's something that I think definitely our team is a really fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, most of the time you guys take the first capture, the first fight. and then it's usually you guys have problems at retaking, but you guys start off really hot with the Ilios win. Unfortunately, going into Hollywood, not as much of the case. So do you think running non-dive makes it sort of difficult to take a map like Hollywood?
So Hollywood's a different case in the sense of we just didn't really understand what they're going to run, because you have to remember with NRG is they're essentially running a new DPS player, and that can mean a lot of different changes. So running into a team blind is always very difficult. And one of the things that we struggled on in Hollywood, I think, was that we just didn't commit to one idea, and we kind of just did a spread on a bunch of different stuff, and it didn't really work until we kind of started to pull together with our roots and quad tank, and we got the ball rolling. But unfortunately, I think that was just a little too late, and it came down to a lot of the fact that we just got caught off guard by what they're running.
Yeah, and I think we were all caught off guard. You know, you guys start off really hot, and Hollywood just fell apart, but then Lunar Colony came around, bit of a C9 at the end that we're not going to talk about, but talk about your offense. You guys finished with like a blazing time of 5 minutes, and then you guys barely let NRG take point B. Yes, they did, but in overtime. So what went so well on that map that didn't go so well on Hollywood? Was there certain weaknesses that you guys were exploiting from NRG?
So I think Hollywood to Horizon is, of course, it favors tanks more because there's a lot more paths that quad tank can take, and then also Horizon used to be, I think, our best map. We used in trials. I think we never even dropped it. Most teams barely capped first point. Like it was one of those maps that Sure in engaged calls were just really, really good. And like one of the things that I think NRG just wasn't prepared for is that when you're trying to deal with like 3 to 4 massive HP pools in your face, it's really difficult. And you kind of have this mantra on the team of live by the tank and die by the tank. And if we win that first push, it's going to be incredibly difficult for any team to get in, regardless if they're energy or whatever. And, you know, I think what truly made our success was the fact that in the same way that we got caught off guard by Hollywood, they got caught off guard by Horizon.
Yeah, and then we went to map 5, and everyone's going crazy in the chat for you guys. And after dropping Junkertown, which was pretty close in my opinion, you know, you stopped NRG from finishing the map, and then you guys just barely took or lost out on Junkertown. But let's talk about map 5. So this is probably stressful. Map 5 stressful for any team going into this. How confident was your team going into a final control map after taking Ilios? And what were your team's focal points that you were focusing on against NRG?
The map 5 was a weird one because it was by far our least prepared map. Like of course, with contenders, it's a fixed map pool, so you get to know what you're coming for. But you know, our team obviously hadn't been put in that type of situation before with Oasis, and so coming into that scene, we kind of relied on a lot of old stuff because Oasis was in the pool for trials, and we tried to make it work. And honestly, our focus was just trying to enable Sure on University, which is the pip map, where like there's like high ground and all that stuff in the circle in the middle, and that didn't go just as planned because one of the things that I think you don't see from a spectator perspective too much is like the networking and stuff can play a really big difference on that stuff. And so coming into those control maps, Sure just having a really rough of a time. And so I think our biggest focus was just trying to make sure that he was doing his job. And like that's why, you know, I had a pretty nice play with a boop shatter to set him up and some of that other stuff. And that's something that, you know, again, like we're living by these tanks and we're dying by them. So when it comes to Oasis, we didn't convert on the point that we needed to, which was University, and then the more open map with where the fairy composition came out, we had a really rough time because we just straight up weren't prepared for it.
Yeah, I mean, you guys haven't seen a map 5, so I could see how unprepared, and I don't know how many map 5s NRG has been at, but I was really rooting for you guys because I'm like, yeah, quad tank, Oasis, you know, most of that could work. That can actually work. And unfortunately, dropping map 5, everyone was so rooting for you. And I think you guys are probably very proud of yourselves to get that far. And we wish we saw more of that throughout contenders. But you guys didn't get to make playoffs, but we saw some real potential out of this match. So now that you're going to be going to trials again, or I assume that you are, how confident is your team to go through trials, maybe seeing some teams that you saw from Open Division again or something like that? How confident are you guys to come back to contenders?
So I think that coming back to contenders is going to be a journey in the same way that getting to contenders was the first time. I think that we are definitely in a position where we have a lot of stuff we can work off and a lot of stuff we can enable. But I think a lot of things that will be changed in this next patch or whatever is that we are going to be playing on a completely different patch with big changes to some of the heroes that might be more anti-tank composition based. And so something that, you know, I think we'll see coming into this next trials is that hopefully we'll see a revamped bye week with a lot more flavor and a lot more diversity in what we can run. And I think another big part of bye week is that unlike before when we came qualified for trials the first time, and where we didn't really have much, we were just a group of friends, honestly, that wanted to really work hard and overcome all these obstacles and eventually do that. You know, now we have a great coach in the way of JKW, who's a former player from Complexity. We have a wonderful manager named Skyler, or Skyler as we call him. And you know, we're just hungry for the win. And we showed today that we can really put pressure on when we have the opportunity. And I think that coming into this next trials, that's all we're going to focus on. It's just making sure that we can give another shot at the big contenders, you know. And honestly, you know, the other big goal of this team is we have a lot of hardworking dudes, you know, like myself and Shershoy and some of the other guys have been around for two plus years in the scene, grinding our hearts and putting all of our blood, sweat, and tears into it. Just so to see, you know, people like yourself or anyone in the chat to support us, it's really wonderful to see. And you know, hopefully the goal for all of us is to make it as far as we can. So, you know, I'd be sad to see some of my teammates go, but I really hope that any one of my teammates gets picked up. And they're all really wonderful guys. And even the ex-teammates, whether that be Sombrada, whether that be Aether, whether that be Dogman or Hypnot or Sugar Free. Those guys, everyone puts it in 110%. And, you know, this won't be the last to see of bye week for sure. And hopefully we'll be seeing you guys in contenders next time.
Hey, well, you guys heard it here first. We're going to see bye week or maybe some other name. We got to change the bye week because it doesn't look confident. You know, we got to go with win week or I don't know, something where you don't give the other team too much confidence when they play against you guys. I have confidence you guys will return through trials, but that will conclude our interview here with Ben, aka Dell, captain of bye week. We wish you guys luck and thank you for coming on.
Thank you guys. I love you all.
He loves you all and we love them. So see you guys next week for another episode of Overwatch Contenders Daily.